Hey everyone, welcome back to the Popular Report. We got breaking news here. We got discussion of what's going on in the world. And this one, we're going to be talking about how electric vehicles, electric heat, all this electrification of everything is really a big trap. It seems like a good idea at first. It may save you money in the short run, but we're seeing a lot of pressure in the United States from the government upon commercial buildings and commercial entities to electrify their buildings. We're being told that they need to get off natural gas for heat. They need to get over to electric for heat. They need to get moving over that way. And we're also seeing a lot of pressure with gas ranges recently being a target of discussion. I don't think that's ever going to go through, but, you know, maybe in a 10-year phase-out type thing, but getting rid of gas ranges in the United States is good luck with that. Anyway, not until they get rid of all the boomsticks, if you know what I mean. So we have this electrification push, but what we also see going on are these smart meters that are going into buildings. And you probably received one of these by now, where they can drive right down the road and they can pick up through sensors, or they can just over the internet they can get what your number is and for how much electricity you've used. But more and more what they're doing is they're installing these smart meters that interact with the internet, so they can actually monitor how much electricity you're using. And if you're using too much electricity when they have a shortage of electricity, they can target you for shutoff. Or we're also hearing that they are looking at the possibility of looking at how to brown you out, where they can reduce the amount of electricity that's going to your home. That's a kind of a tricky one there too. But we saw just recently with the storms that came through, we had that winter storm that came through, and Duke Energy found themselves without enough electricity. They called up a number of reserve units, and they did not get those things online. And so they turned to PJM, and PJM had a whole bunch of their reserve units did not come online either. A lot of these units were natural gas units that they were hoping to bring online, but they just didn't have enough natural gas, or the providers didn't want to turn them on, or whatever. And so we have a big deficit of electricity. And what did they do? They immediately started rolling blackouts through the Duke Energy areas without any warning. And as soon as you realize that they're going to start doing that whenever they have any sort of problem, and yet they're building these electric grids more and more unstable, you need to realize that you moving over to electric is a bit of a gamble. It may be good for you in the short term, but it may end up costing you quite a bit in the long term. Why do they want you over on electric? See, the problem with natural gas is that it's hard to switch off. It's hard to redirect too much. You can sort of redirect it a little bit, but electricity, you can just switch people off like that. It's great. You can switch off commercial buildings like that. You can switch off certain districts. You know, if people vote the wrong way, you know, I mean, maybe they shouldn't get quite as much electricity as these folks over here. There's too many people of this nationality in this area, so they don't deserve as much electricity as these deserving people over here. Oh, does that sound a little far-fetched? Go to South Africa and tell me if that's far-fetched. Look into some history. Is that far-fetched? No, it's not. It's not far-fetched at all. And what we're seeing now with people being denied admissions, people being denied jobs because of the color of their skin, if you don't think that they will deny you and the people in your area of electricity first for equitable reasons, they will make sure, and they already have commissions doing this, that if there's rolling blackouts, we need to make sure that they're done in an equitable way, where minorities are not negatively impacted. Now, on the face of things, I think a lot of us would go, well, that sounds reasonable. Yeah, I mean, it's not right that we shut off, inner city areas to a higher degree than wealthier areas, that would be wrong. That sounds great, but that's not what they're talking about. That's not what they're talking about at all. They're talking about lower income areas should not be shut off at all, and only other areas should be shut off. Just like the whole reparations thing. Just like one thing after the next that comes out there. Friends, there comes a certain point where you see what they're doing and you start realizing, I shouldn't be handing this person this tool. Because the last tool I gave them, they beat me over the head with. Maybe I shouldn't give this to them. Because they're probably going to hit me in the head with it. We collectively need to realize that the psychopaths who really don't care about you at all, who kind of wish you'd all die because they don't like you. If you watch channels like this one, they kind of wish that you would die during the next cold spell probably. These people absolutely hate you and much of what you stand for. So, moving over to electricity just makes it easier for them to target you. Makes it easier for them to hurt you. Friends, before you start switching over to electricity, now I am stuck on electric heat. The house I bought, it has a heat pump, and there is no natural gas line coming here, which is ironic since there's a natural gas line, pipeline, like literally like 20 or 30 yards from my house. Like there's a big natural gas line goes through. So in an emergency situation, I can always just drill a hole in it and, get all the natural gas I need. I'm joking about that. You don't want it to be doing that. That would be a very, very bad idea. But no natural gas here. It would be too costly to run the pipe here. So it's either propane or electric, and I opted to go with wood. So I've been stockpiling wood, stacking it up and getting it covered and all that kind of stuff like that. But figure out what you need to do to be more energy independent, and stacking wood is a great option if you have a fireplace, if you have a wood stove in your home, which I do actually have a wood stove in my home. So I'm actually kind of set that way. I've done a little bit of work with it, but it's not the best wood stove for everything. It would be better for emergency use, and so that's what it's there for. If they shut off my electricity, I'll be able to keep the pipes from bursting, and I'll be able to stay warm downstairs, but I will probably have to sleep in the basement in order to stay relatively comfortable, and that's all right. I can do that for a couple weeks a year if necessary. What can you live with? If they decide to target you in the dead of winter when it's ice cold, or in the dead of summer when it is super hot, will you be able to survive without your electricity? A lot of people in Texas really struggle with that when it was hot, when it was cold. And then Duke Energy area down in the southeast of the United States, a lot of people struggle with that for some bits of time. They were supposed to only shut off people for a half hour at a time, but I heard from a whole lot of you guys who had your power out for 4, 6, 8 hours at a time. And that's what I hear from you guys. I don't know how many of those were scheduled outages, how many of them were just trees down on lines, but you can't believe anything that you're being told these days. Everything that they say ends up being the opposite of what they say, that they would never do that, and then they do it. You keep using the slippery slope argument, and they end up doing it anyway. So, electric cars, I mean, I like the idea of electric cars, but I don't like the idea of being that dependent upon the grid in order to power the electric cars. They take a lot of juice. Unless you have a really big solar farm, you're going to have a hard time powering that electric car off of your property. And what about those people coming in and asking if you have permits for all that? That's a whole nother question, right? All right, folks, if you found this video to be useful, helpful, you might want to check out this other video right here. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you later. Make sure you sign up for the Poplar Report down a newsletter, free newsletter down in the description. I'll see you there, or I'll see you later. Steve Poplar out.